You know those "you must be this tall to ride this ride" signs at the amusement park? I'm pretty sure TLC has one that says you must be at least this dysfunctional to be cast on this show. In today's video, we're gonna look at each couple on this season of 90 Day Fiancé, learn why they all seem so off, and more importantly, discover what relationship quality is so healthy that if you show it, TLC will never cast you to be on this show. That's a good thing, by the way. Let's jump into it and start off with my favorite couple of the season, Danielle and Yohan. There's so much I could say about Danielle, and I have. Check out my other videos on her here after you watch this video. But I think I can summarize everything by just looking at the car scene from last episode. So she's finally moving to Dominican Republic and packs like 13 frickin' suitcases. Enough luggage, you would think, to require some planning ahead, right? Then she tells us that every time Yohan picks her up from the airport, he always brings the same small car that he rents from a friend.
This is the same car that we always rent when I come here.
So she knows she's bringing a lot of luggage, and she also knows that Yohan's car will be too small for it. So what do you think she did about this? Did she A, ask him to bring a bigger car, B, tell him she's bringing a lot of luggage in the hopes that he would bring a bigger car, or C, say nothing, then get upset with him for not just knowing that she would bring that much luggage? It's C. The answer is C. If this was just some travel miscommunication, then fine, that stuff happens. But she frames it like she knew this would be a problem and deliberately didn't address it ahead of time.
I didn't tell Yohan that I had 10 suitcases, but I feel like he should have realized that I was moving here and that I probably had a lot more stuff with me than I normally do when I come for 2 weeks.
For what? Just so she can wag her disapproving finger at him and teach him a lesson about how irresponsible and stupid he is? Imagine that. You're flying to paradise, to your new life, together with the love of your life, ready to go to your new home together to start fresh in peace. It's beautiful. And then you think, f that. I'd rather fight as soon as I land. Yeah, I think that if I could push my partner down one more time and relish in how dumb I think they are, I think that'd add more value to my life than peace.
Stop it. Get some help.
Some people really do just wake up and choose violence. Danielle seems to see her partner as someone she likes to be around at best, and someone she can talk down to and push around and feel superior over at worst. In her defense, I don't think she's necessarily doing that consciously. I think it's just a reflection of how she sees relationships in general. Like, yeah, if we're in love, that means we fight all the time, right? But spoiler alert, that's kind of the whole point of this video, and I'm gonna talk about it at the end. But just clarifying early on that I'm not accusing anyone of being a bad person, I'm just trying to criticize their behavior. Alright, next up is KRIS and JEYMI. I really liked them at the beginning of the season, and I don't dislike them now, but something about their energy and chemistry just feels a little off. I think that became most obvious to me last episode when KRIS was asking JEYMI if JEYMI's parents are going to come to their wedding. And JEYMI has to tell KRIS that they are not coming to the wedding because they don't know JEYMI's a lesbian, because they probably wouldn't accept her if they knew. And that sucks for JEYMI and KRIS, but I think we, the audience, learned something in that moment too. They don't know shit about each other. That seems to me like kind of a weird thing to not know about your spouse at this point in the relationship, right? What kind of relationship they have with their parents? You don't have to share that on the first date. I mean, I probably would, but you would think by the time they agree to get married that would have come up by now, right? And their apparent lack of knowledge goes both ways. JEYMI knew about KRIS's narcolepsy, but not about the decades of chronic debilitating neck pain, surgery, court cases, knives, allergies, and picky eating. But okay. Maybe they're just like that. Maybe they just don't share a lot about each other. That's fine. But then I keep forgetting about KRIS ghosting JEYMI for a month. Remember, KRIS got spooked, or I forget exactly what the reason was, but when they were long distance, she just didn't respond to JEYMI for a whole month. And they still seem to have some trust issues around that, and who wouldn't? And I think that's what it all comes down to with them. Trust. I don't think they have it. When they're together, they seem to view each other as equals, as real partners, which is good, but also with a noticeable distance or skepticism around them that makes their interactions just feel a bit stiff. Why did KRIS ghost her in the first place? Is she fearful of relationships in general? And does that have something to do with their apparent lack of knowledge about each other now? Or is their caution totally normal and they're just still getting to know each other? But then why get married right now? Next up is the actually pretty functional couple, Gabe and Isabel. They communicate well, they seem to trust each other, and they had probably the most wholesome scene I've ever seen on the show a few episodes back when they both bashfully and lovingly talked about, They remind me a bit of Kenny and Armando from a previous season. Was his name Armando? Hang on. Armando. Was that how? Armando, where their conflict wasn't actually between the two of them, but between them and society. And I think Gabe and Isabel are in that similar boat where they weren't cast because they suck. I think they were cast so that we could see how they handle Gabe being trans in a society and with parents that don't accept it. So, because I don't think they're dysfunctional enough to be cast by themselves, that's a great compliment, by the way. I think we can forget them for this discussion. Congratulations to Gabe and Isabel. Next up, we have the most confusing couple on the show, Debbie and OUSSAMA. When I was growing up, I had a hard time relating to other kids my age. I just didn't fit in. But I still needed some kind of identity, even if the kid thing wasn't working out, so I embraced what I thought was kind of being an old soul. And yes, I even wore a fedora. I might have seemed mature for my age to some people, and maybe I was, but only in a very narrow, incomplete way, and was actually more immature in other ways. That's what OUSSAMA reminds me of. Mature for his age, but not very mature for his age. And I think Debbie's the opposite. She's much older and has had relationships and even kids, but doesn't seem to use any of that wisdom or experience. She seems to take a bit of a backseat in their relationship. Not like OUSSAMA is walking all over her or anything like that, but kind of like, and I hate saying this, like a mom and son are playing with toys and the mom is kind of just letting the son make up whatever rules and story he wants, and the mom plays along saying like, oh yeah? And what does the giraffe say next? So it feels weird, and got even weirder a few episodes ago when they argued over dinner. Debbie thought she was moving to Morocco permanently, and it seems like she thought that because that's what they agreed on. But now that she's here, OUSSAMA's being all, oh, we should test things out first, get to know each other, and get married later, like adults. And that's actually completely reasonable, but it's not what he seemed to say the first time.
You really screwed up big time, OUSSAMA.
And his excuse to lying to her about it was because if I told you the truth, then you wouldn't have come in the first place. Oh, so he gets to make decisions for the both of them because he knows better and it's for the best. Kind of reminds me of Bilal. That attitude makes me wonder if he has some sort of fundamental distrust of relationships, or distrust of my partner's intelligence or their reasonableness. They won't get it like I do. That actually sounds a lot like Bilal. But I don't know, they seem oddly good together. Like their dynamic allows them to both be their natural selves more easily with each other. Or maybe they're oddly bad together. Man, I don't know. I guess whatever works, right? We're gonna talk about Jen and Rishi now. But I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really paid attention to half of Jen and Rishi's scenes, and I just couldn't get myself to go back and rewatch it. Okay, sue me. So maybe I'm totally off about this whole thing, and you can let me know in the comments. But one of the things I do remember is Jen's friend being super distrustful of Rishi for no good reason. You've never met him, and you know nothing about him, so why are you so distrustful of him? But instead of just voicing her concerns and then butting the hell out of Jen's business, she offers to catfish Rishi.
We can catfish him.
That is absolutely ridiculous. What a breach of trust. No, you cannot do that. Jen said yes. Yeah, okay, let's just trick our partners, lie by omission, and then do it on TV to really embarrass them. If this was actually real and not the producer's idea, which, Later on, Jen discovers that Rishi didn't tell his parents about Jen, which is annoying, sure, but she seemed to freak out at him very quickly for it, threatened to leave, and seemed to kind of hold it over his head a bit, which didn't strike me as totally fair. It's just that sense of my partner is someone I deal with because I like them, and not so much this is my partner who I trust and is my confidant, which seems to be an underlying theme of the show. And Rishi, I don't know. Does anybody know anything what Rishi thinks? I got nothing. Now, on to our last couple, Nicole and Mahmoud. Listen, I might lose you here, but I actually like Nicole and Mahmoud, individually and as a couple. Their personalities seem compatible, but just their personalities. Their relationship experience, emotional intelligence, culture, all the things that make a relationship work, no, not compatible at all. Mahmoud storms off easily, makes passive-aggressive comments, and compensates by being overly affectionate in a possibly sincere, but possibly love-bomby, manipulative kind of way. And Nicole seems to create a lot of unnecessary conflict by not thinking things through, being unaware of how she feels about things until she blows up, and also acts passive-aggressively. So maybe they're more compatible than I thought. But what I find so fascinating about them is it seems like they're just an inch away from having the mature and reasonable conversation about their differences. But for some reason, it just doesn't seem to be on the table for them. Mahmoud keeps demonstrating the ability to compromise by saying things like, we just have different cultures, this is new to you, so I don't blame you, do you want me to teach you? Okay, great, don't worry about it. And Nicole keeps saying, it's just his culture and cultural conditioning, and I want to learn, and I find it beautiful. Okay, so why is everything the other person's fault then? They both say they want to work on things and figure it out, and I believe that they feel that way, but it seems like neither of them really know what that means. And I'm not talking about the ins and outs of what makes a compromise. I'm talking about the attitude of working together. Right now, they feel like two people facing each other across a table, arguing over what's going to happen, like it's a divorce settlement. But nothing is stopping them from being on the same side of the couch, sitting next to each other, together, problem solving, like, we're in Egypt, and Egypt has these customs, and we want you to feel comfortable, so what can we do about this? Maybe they move to America, maybe she finds her own place to live there, maybe she finds some local expats to befriend. The solution doesn't matter. My point is, there's no inherent reason why you have to see your partner as an adversary when there's a problem in the relationship. If you and your partner are driving down the road and you get a flat tire, you don't blame each other. You both go and take a look and say, we have a flat tire problem. What should we do about our problem? There's you, there's your partner, and then there's the problem. Your partner is not the problem. It's the two of you working together against the problem. That attitude doesn't have to change once it's a problem in the relationship. Whether it's a flat tire, or cultural differences, or a drinking problem, or relational traumas. Just remember, you're on the same side. But that's not that fun to watch on TV, let's be honest. I don't know how much of it is the casting, or the editing, or producer shenanigans on the side, or whatnot, but it doesn't seem like anyone on the show seems to have that team perspective. Danielle obviously doesn't see Johan as an equal. I mean, it sometimes looks like she barely recognizes that he's an actual human being with a heart and a brain. With KRIS and JEYMI, I don't know if the chicken came before the egg, but they don't know each other that well. And they also don't seem to trust each other that well. And because of how guarded they are, things between them feel a bit stiff and distant. Debbie seems able to have that same side mentality with OUSSAMA. Maybe that's because that's the only thing she's capable of. But OUSSAMA seems to view Debbie and the relationship as something he has to manage himself, not together as a team. And I don't think that Jen and Rishi are there either, because if Jen saw Rishi as a true equal, I don't think she'd try to catfish him and wouldn't be so rigid and threaten to leave him at the first sign of a disagreement. And Rishi, well, I still don't know anything about what Rishi thinks. And Nicole and Mahmoud are the weirdest ones to me, because they have so many opportunities and seem to have so much motivation to try to figure it out and actually compromise, but they just can't. Instead, we should just get, yes, yes, no, no, yes, I'm not compromising. Yeah, well, neither am I, like children. One of you, please just stand up and figure it out. But I get it. I think it's pretty common in America at least, and maybe even the norm, to associate love with conflict. Whether that's modeled to us directly by our parents or family of origin, or it's through cultural messages like, if you like someone, then you shouldn't show it because nobody likes desperation. If someone seems like they don't like you or are really hard to read, they're actually just really deep and mysterious. And don't forget, nice guys finish last. We're raised to relate safety with boring. And most of us have a lot of junk in our head telling us to seek out these dysfunctional dynamics in other people. And it's hard to undo that kind of mental nonsense. And because of that, I'm sorry to Danielle, to Nicole and Mahmoud, to KRIS, to Jen, and to anyone else in the world who doesn't believe that relationships are a place of safety and love and comfort. You deserve better. But we don't need to be stuck in that cycle. You can look for and even be attracted to someone that tells you they love you when you need to hear it. You can find someone that doesn't blame you for having problems and just wants to work with you. You can be with someone good for you. It's never too late to start. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you in the next one.